This is I Forgot from ADHD Incorporated Customer Retention Services with a public service announcement. We would like to remind you that under Clause ID 10T of your Safe Shelter Insurance, continuation of listening to this informative broadcast hereby waives all rights to recompense from any call-outs, death by laughter, or bohica moments. Any previously requested safe word usage will be ignored as you have entered into an implicit CNC scenario. If you have any other questions or concerns, please call our toll-free number 1-800-555-8043. Just remember, if you have a problem with any of our products, I forgot you.
Hello everybody, and welcome to your favorite bi-weekly disaster piece, The Wait, What Was I Doing? A Squirrel, an Ape, and a Trash Panda's ADHD podcast. For the second time tonight, I have managed to say that full name the right way the first time.
We're so proud of you.
Thank you. Don't be fooled, however, I did not get through the entire podcast opening without fucking things up, Pearly style, because it's 3 a.m., my brain is still trying to buffer, and my mouth is playing Mad Libs with the words that are coming out next. Today we're going to be talking about ADHD Awareness Month. Happy October. In addition, we're going to be talking about Spaz and his spontaneity, his need to finish all of the recording as early as possible because the Steam holiday sales are coming up and this motherfucker needs a new MMO to play.
No, he doesn't.
So before this devolves any further, let's get into today's episode. The Squirrel, an Ape, and a Trash Panda turn it orange.
Let's go.
Fuck you. And the whale you rode in on. Well, it's October, and you know what that means.
It's my birthday.
Yeah!
Sorry.
It's a bropocalypse.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yes, it's that too.
I got my passport today. I'm good to go.
Oh, man. It's going to be silly.
So, it's October, meaning it's everybody's favorite awareness month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Remember to wear your pink and that breast cancer affects 1 in 8 women.
I like the part where Patrick's feeling his breast. You checking for lumps?
I don't need to. I've got other people to check for me.
Ooh.
And on that note, let's also not forget that October is National ADHD Awareness Month. Not to overshadow or try to lessen how important breast cancer is, ADHD has a tendency to be overlooked in our own awareness month. So we're here. We exist, y'all. Hi.
We're here. We're orange.
We're orange.
We forgot something.
If you did not know, orange is the official color for ADHD.
Now you know.
Probably because if they made it any other color, we wouldn't see it.
The more you know.
And right. And why is ADHD Awareness Month often overlooked? Well, because ADHD is often overlooked and stigmatized as well, so people just don't recognize it anymore. Or I say anymore, but pretty much ever. So.
Well, and that's the thing. People with ADHD deal with misinformation through media, invalidation of our own disorder, and stigma, leading to people not seeking help. And the purpose of National ADHD Awareness Month is to bring awareness to the fact that ADHD does in fact exist, and to help clear up some of the miscommunications that we see on social media and even within the mainstream media. I mean, how many times have you seen ADHD in a movie or on TV portrayed as somebody who is bubbly and very exuberant and easily distracted in mid-conversation? Squirrel?
Mm-hmm. Or incredibly outgoing, or, as you mentioned with the bubbly, somebody who's just high energy and non-stop and just it rattles off at like 4,000 miles a second.
Right? Or even misportrayed as basically autistic, right?
Yeah.
They misportray ADHD as autism on a lot of stuff in Hollywood initially. It's getting better now, but I mean, still, there was a lot of misrepresentation and a lot of misinformation put out to people throughout the 80s and 90s because nobody understood what the fuck ADHD was.
Shit, it's 2021. They still don't understand.
Even today. Mm-hmm. So you've all seen us do our quote-unquote takedown videos of the invalidating assholes on TikTok that talk about how ADHD doesn't exist, that it's fake. But why would countries, whole ass motherfucking countries, protect people with ADHD if that was the case? Why are there thousands upon thousands of literary sources, peer-reviewed sources that all back the fact that ADHD exists.
But Lee, you mean it's not a big pharma conspiracy?
I mean, considering the fact that ADHD has been around longer than the pharmaceutical company, then yeah, that's exactly, it's not.
Time travel doesn't exist yet. Yet. Yeah. Asterisk. But maybe Big Pharma's from the future.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Oh shit, that's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down.
Ooh.
Yeah, let's not feed the trolls with more things,
Yeah, no.
okay? We don't need to debunk more of this, okay?
I'm just keeping us busy, that's all. I'm thinking about our future.
I'm supposed to be semi-retired.
But then why would they wait so long to peddle a
Right?
medication for ADHD to help with the symptoms? I don't know why I'm doing air quotes. There is actually medication for ADHD, but...
Yeah.
At the end of the day, why would you target a group like us who forgets to take their fucking meds to begin with?
No one said they were smart.
That's dumbassery right there, but...
So, today's episode, we're going to talk about misinformation, invalidation, and stigma. But at the end of it, we want to leave you all with a positive note this episode. Because a lot of times we talk about how ADHD has extreme drawbacks. You've all lived them. You know they exist. The time blindness, the task paralysis, the executive dysfunction, the wonderful comorbidities that come with having ADHD. So we want to take a look at the way that we view ADHD and ensure that while we are seeing the fact that there are these negative aspects, that there are positive aspects to the disorder as well.
Absolutely.
I don't know why I'm talking like this is a fucking introduction. It is, but it isn't. I've already, you already heard the fucking introduction. I have no clue what's in it yet because I haven't recorded it yet, but you've all already heard it.
I mean, time travel.
How was it, by the way? Was it good? Did I stay on par? Just tell me before I get to the point where I have to record it.
I think you did excellent. You're awesome.
You are a lying, fucking dead gorilla hole in a corner.
Your fucking voice was so smooth in it. It was amazing.
You know what? I don't have to take this from you. You're not a content creator anymore.
I made a video Sunday. I don't want to hear that either.
That was Sunday, honey. Sunday.
It's Tuesday now.
Whatever.
It's Wednesday here.
I'm semi-retired, thank you.
It's Wednesday.
Time travel. It's all coming full circle, bitches.
It all makes sense.
Anyways, okay, so now that we've gotten through that, we do, like Lee was saying, we do want to share a positive note to ADHD as well, because we don't want ADHD Awareness Month to be all about negativity, because that's a problem. We already deal with enough negativity in ADHD to begin with.
And we've also been accused of being all about the negatives. And we're not. So we want to make sure that we draw attention to the positives also.
That's right.
But guess what?
Yay.
Guess what? Just because I have a superpower in ADHD doesn't mean everybody does.
That's right.
That's all you got to say to not be an invalidating prick.
We'll talk more about that when we get there, though.
Anyways.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I think we're ready to go then, huh?
Yeah.
Let's get this bus on the road, huh?
Yeah. Gas it up, grab the keys, and put on your fucking seatbelt. Lee's taking the driver's seat.
After these messages from our sponsors.
Beep, beep. Tired of the boring conversations about meaningless drivel? Over the mundane meetings that could have been handled in email? ADHD Pharmaceuticals has a way for you to not deal with this anymore. Hi, I'm Dr. Ian Fodump, head of pharmaceuticals here at ADHD Incorporated, and I'm excited to announce our patented new formula developed in our state-of-the-art facilities to help you get through all that meaningless small talk packed into your day. Chrono Mints. Simply pop a mint in your mouth and let our proprietary formula help you block out all that useless droning in your life.
Side effects may include getting lost in important conversations, being nearly impossible to transfer information over the phone, zoning out voices you hear commonly like your wife, boyfriend, kids, teacher, etc., being seen as daydreamy, or having your brain go on a random wander ponder.
Chrono Mints, free with your lifetime subscription to ADHD. Get them now. So, being content creators, we deal with social media, which is...
You're a content creator?
Yeah, I am a content creator. I still make a fucking podcast, bitch.
Oh, he's got you there.
Oh, he does? He's got me?
Technicality loophole.
But we deal with the social media on a regular basis. And one of the biggest problems with social media is it's basically the Wild West for misinformation. And
God.
The best part is nobody seems to give a fuck about misinformation and ADHD at all.
The only ones who seem to give a fuck about misinformation are the platforms who come after the people who call out the misinformation. I'm not bitter. I'm not speaking from that position. I'm just stating some facts.
Eat a dick, TikTok.
Eat a dick talk.
Eat a dick talk. I mean, yeah, misinformation runs completely just rampant on social media. This is how we get people who are gargling betadine or sticking ivermectin laced tampons up their hoo-ha. That's it's.
And let's talk about ADHD, right? So let's talk about one of the biggest. No,
cringes
you're fine.
Cringes in epidemiology. Cringes in science, even just.
Yeah, cringes in science, absolutely. So let's talk about probably the biggest misinformation peddler in ADHD, and that's Dr. Aman, right? And this guy has been blasted repeatedly by every reputable source of neuroscience,
by the American psychology,
right? Like
by everybody in his own field.
He's been referred to consistently as a snake oil salesman by people in his own field.
He's a fucking con man.
Yet we can't stamp this guy out, and he has hundreds of thousands of followers on a regular basis who swear by his garbage bullshit.
Which, listen, I got a hot take on that.
Go ahead.
Sometimes you find something useful that is nestled in between a shit ton of misinformation.
It's true.
Sometimes you find something that hits the fucking mark that might not be a traditional way of dealing with something.
Yeah, a diamond in the rough.
Does that make the fact that it works for you wrong? No, but you should not go pushing that on everybody.
Nope.
And if you do try to talk about something, make sure you know what you're talking about from reputable sources, unlike Dr. Aman.
Yeah. And, we said this in the episode coming up that's following this episode that we've already recorded with Al
Sorolofis.
Yes.
That guy.
And Bill Monroe says that if you've met one person with ADHD, you know one person with ADHD.
It's true.
Right? Sure, some little fucking nugget might help you, but that doesn't mean it's going to help any fucking person else. And the minute you start saying, do this is the only way you can fix yourself, you become an invalidating prick.
Well, that's when we have to take a look at the fact that these people who are peddling these miracle cures or the people who are the big perpetrators of misinformation on social media, it's essentially nothing more than an MLM. That's all it is.
They're selling something. Almost every single one of them has some type of fucking link to buy my shit on their page.
Yeah, buy my shit. It's either my fucking suppository,
my webinar,
my book, my supplements.
Yeah, the fuck nugget we just dealt with was CMOS. Like he's selling
CMOS. That right? Guy, yeah.
Yeah, it's just they're all trying to sell something. They're all fucking snake oil salesmen, right?
But the thing is, they're trying to rope you in because that they hit you with that. It's not a real thing. Yada yada yada, and they know that they're gonna stir up controversy. They're gonna get more eyes on them, and then that's how they fucking pull people into their bullshit.
Yep. They're also targeting desperate groups.
Yes,
we're looking at a group where people are tired of struggling the way that we do with some of the negative sides of ADHD, and they're looking for a way out, and these people are like, hey, I've got your way out, but I'm the only one that has your way out. It's only going to cost you your soul and $999.99.
That's right.
The other way that they attack this is not, they don't come after people with actual ADHD. They go after parents or caretakers or something like that, saying, hey, I've got this cure that will help your kids, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the kid wants at this point. The parent is frazzled because the kid, they don't understand what's going on with the child.
Well, and they're playing on fear.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing. They're playing on fear.
And that is a common marketing strategy.
Of course it is. Has been for centuries.
The number one factor in all of these people and all of these things is none of them cite sources.
No.
If you look at their stuff, even the stuff that they show up and say, hey, this looks better, they won't show you where it came from. They don't cite sources.
Or if they do, it's from some fucking weirdo, bonkers, fucking basement-dwelling tinfoil idiot that just scrounged up a bunch of shit that he found on fucking Tumblr somewhere. Yeah. And this is his source.
This is why I've always said that when you're doing your research, because even after getting a diagnosis with ADHD, you should still be doing research, because the science behind ADHD, our understanding of ADHD, is ever evolving and ever changing. So continue continue to do your research, but when you're doing this, there are sites out there and groups that pay for studies and things of that nature and skew the data.
Mhm.
They pay to have the data skewed. So make sure that when you're looking at these sites, that you notice if they have any conflict of interest. If it is an academic paper, there will be a section in there listing any conflicts of interest that are there. Take a look at who sponsored the study, not just the name, but actually go and find this group that sponsored whatever study you're looking at. Look at their board of directors, who they are as people, what are they known for? Because there are agencies out there that use .orgs. There are agencies out there that have legitimate doctors that are on their board that don't believe in science.
It's funny that you say exactly that, because last night, Nate came to me. And for those who don't know who Nate is, Nate's basically my right-hand guy when it comes to the Discord. Been my best friend for 25 plus years, and he is pursuing a degree in counseling, right? So, and of course, he's diagnosed ADHD. He's going for his autism diagnosis, but he came to me last night with a study, and he's all about these studies. He's, trying to better himself in every way that he can. He's trying to learn as much as he can. So he brought me this.
And he shares some great sources.
He really does, but he brought me this study last night, and after he started explaining it to me, something just felt wrong about it. I'm like, okay, who's the source? He said, well, it's multiple people. I said, okay, so who are they? And he looked them up and he rattled them off. And of course, they weren't names that rang a bell for me in any way. And then he started, because I was still editing last episode while he was talking to me. And so he started doing a bit of research on his own. And one of the guys, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head because reasons like ADHD, one of these guys is cited as saying ADHD doesn't exist. And this is one of the people that is behind this study.
Yeah.
So exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, so when we take a look at the sources, in order to combat our own misinformation, take a look not only at who is paying these people or who is the financial holder for these studies and their board of directors, but also take a look at the people who have participated in the study. Those, the authors of the study. Look at them and their career and their history and make sure that they aren't associated with any particular group that they don't have a special interest that is questionable.
Is it something that's peer reviewed?
But let's talk about another problem with misinformation, and that's people who take actual information, like things like diet has an impact on ADHD.
Yes, it does.
Right? Diet is absolutely one of the things that have an impact on ADHD. So they take this information and they misrepresent it to say gluten gives you ADHD and cures it. If you just cut it out, it'll cure you from ADHD. Right?
My personal favorite lately is that it's a certain type of yeast that is responsible for that. And I'm like, what? No.
Or CMOS guy who's like, you need sunshine and exercise.
Yeah.
Yes, those will help, but that won't cure your ADHD.
No.
Right? There's nothing that will cure ADHD. There are tons and tons and tons of tools out there. So they take actual, credible information and then they misrepresent it, which makes it even more insidious.
Yep. Well, and it makes it harder to combat in a lot of cases too, because when these assholes come up to you and say, me and my CMOS, then we have to go fucking hunt down the actual citations and say, no, it is not exactly like that. It is this part of it, and you're blowing it way the fuck out of proportion. By this point, if the guy has a big following behind him, then he's got people that are going to be oblivious to that fact. It doesn't matter to them at that point. It's just, well, no, it says so right here in the citation.
Someone save me.
Lee looks like she saw a ghost.
I made a boo-boo. I made a huge fucking mistake. I shouldn't have fucking clicked on what I clicked on, and now I'm fucking raging. And
Lee, put it down.
They just called it a flu.
Close the browser.
Lee,
they just called the coronavirus a flu.
You can bookmark it so you can video them later. You can make a TikTok about it later.
Away. That was just fucking. But it looked like a legitimate source. That was the point. In that it looked like a legitimate source.
Looked like a legitimate source.
You proved the point.
And that's what we're saying. These look like legitimate sources. They misrepresent actual data and research to make it look legitimate as well. Like it's a massive problem. Mm-hmm. It's a massive problem that we deal with on it all the time, right?
You got Lee crying over there in epidemiology.
They called it a fucking flu. I would much rather somebody call it a fucking cold, because that's what the fucking virus is. It's a cold virus. Anyway, sorry.
Don't say that part, because now somebody is going to fucking misrepresent it and say, no, it's nothing more than a cold.
Right.
They do that already.
Uh-huh.
But you see, these are the things I do for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is the pain I subject myself to. If you think I'm coming after you, don't think I haven't gone through it first.
Right? 100%. Fuck my life. Oh, no, I clicked on an article that was like, oh, we could probably use this in the military episode, like talking about misinformation and how it targets military, and then I just when I saw it, I was like, oh. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start talking about the invalidation of ADHD after this word from our sponsors so that I can collect my goddamn shit and actually focus on what I'm supposed to focus on and not the fact that somebody just called coronavirus the flu.
And scene.
The fucking flu.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you this breaking news story. I'm Falsey News. Police were baffled this morning as the body of a 30-year-old Australian woman was found after being hit by the bullet train from Town Square to the Media District. Police were further confused by a single note left by the body, reading "Play with fire and get burned." While foul play is suspected, no suspects have been identified at this time. Chief Boyardee has scheduled a press conference for 3 p.m. We will have more on this story and more tonight at 11:30 after Squirrel Squad 6.
In the criminal justice system, squirrel-based offenses are considered especially heinous. In the Squirrel Station, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Squirrel Unit. These are their stories.
This week, Detective Pyrox and Sergeant Katie joined forces with notorious hacker, the Cajun Geek, in order to save a collection of gnomes from the mysterious Cult of 13. Tune into a new episode of Squirrel Squad 6, Tuesday nights at 9, only on Channel 80 in HD.
I may not have my shit completely together. I may not have calmed down from the idea that the coronavirus is simply the kung flu, which is exceptionally fucking racist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at least put together enough for these two assholes. So, we're gonna go ahead and keep on talking ADHD and ADHD Awareness Month by talking about invalidation of ADHD. If you've listened to the last few episodes of our podcast, you know that we just did an entire series about the symptoms of ADHD and how those symptoms can be used to invalidate a person.
And we're still sorry about that, by the way. The triage section is over there.
Yeah.
I'm still not.
If you still need medical attention, then, go over there.
Look,
Stay away from Lee.
I gave you all the disclaimer before those episodes that the bullet vests were over to the right, but I wasn't promising that I was going to be aiming for the chest.
It's true.
If you continued on, you consented to everything that happened.
I mean, we did put a disclaimer for safe words in the very intro of one of the videos, so.
The first one, and I said that we were still taking safe words in the second one.
No, you said we were taking safe words.
Yeah, you guys were taking, so I don't,
But-
no, I am,
But as-
I was the dominatrix.
we are devolving again. But yes, invalidation and ADHD.
We're devolving again? Have you fucking
we
met
have 2
us?
episodes to record tonight. We need to stay semi on track.
That does not mean that the quality of our podcast should drop in any way, shape, or form, sir.
So, ADHD Awareness Month and invalidation, right? I don't know. I'd say that's probably the biggest problem out there for ADHD. It really is. Like,
I don't think that I could stack misinformation and invalidation in the same pile and have one over the other.
They are pretty bad.
I say that the three things that we're talking about all together today, invalidation, misinformation, stigma, are all like great fucking...
Yeah, they're their own corners of the triangle.
Okay, I could see that, but...
I picked them for a reason.
For me, I would say, for me personally, invalidation is probably the worst thing I've ever dealt with.
Hey, look at that.
There you go.
That right there
you
is how we should word shit.
Excuse me, I'm trying to word things properly.
No, that wasn't a shot at you. That was me. I'm proud of you. Good job.
But yes,
hooray. Encore.
But invalidation with ADHD has been probably the biggest source of why I didn't get diagnosed, right? Because it started out as being invalidated by teachers and professors and sergeants in the Army, and then NCOs in the Navy, and it moved into internal invalidation, right? Where I just didn't believe I had a problem. I just believed I was a fuck up and a loser, and I couldn't live in this world.
Hell, I still feel like that today.
Easy. I'm trying not to go down that rabbit hole. Thank you.
I'm forcing your ass down there.
But
no rabbit hole there. Ready? For me, that's how I feel.
You're a dick. I love you. You're a dick.
Yeah, don't invalidate the way Spaz feels, damn it.
So
it's on topic.
So invalidation has probably been the biggest source of heartache and damage in my life with my ADHD. Misinformation, not so much. The misinformation now is a pain in the ass for me, but I didn't have any real ADHD education until about a year ago.
Same.
But I also would like to pose it to you this way, right? When you first started looking at ADHD and you first started doing your research on ADHD, how much misinformation did you come across that you didn't know was misinformation because you didn't have the education?
Let me go with the first ADHD video that I saw on TikTok. Are you guys ready for this? I'm just gonna go with the first line. ADHD people, are you freaking kidding me?
Oh, fuck my head right there. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you had to go through that experience. How are you feeling right now? Are you okay?
All right, Alex, calm down.
I'm good now. I'm good now. Now that I have learned and beat through that misinformation and that invalidation, right? But that was an invalidation attack right off the bat, right?
It completely was.
So
try to invalidate your experience and then tell you, as we explained in the beginning, only I can help you. Give me your money.
And that was kind of where I was going when I said that I couldn't stack misinformation or invalidation one over another, because the misinformation leads into invalidation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Invalidation of your own experiences, of what you're going through, the symptoms that you're feeling. Yeah, on the one hand, we have the MLM shit that's fucking, we can sell you the cure to ADHD when there is in fact no cure. But on the other side of things, it's the people who believe that ADHD doesn't exist. They're going to invalidate your entire experience for a disorder that they don't believe has any validity.
Yeah. So, and my biggest thing, again, was education. I didn't have, which could definitely be a misinformation portion, right? Not having the education because people believe that ADHD isn't a real thing, or it's just a little kid's disease and only little boys have it, and you can grow up and get over it.
I'm sorry, did you say...
This is all the misinformation.
I'm sorry.
What were you saying? What? Say it.
You said little boys, and the first thing that popped into my head was berries and cream. Berries and cream. Our little laddie likes berries and cream.
Okay.
That's right, you can't escape that TikTok trend even here on the fucking podcast.
There you go. What I was going to say before I got derailed was berries and cream.
I am not even sorry.
No, I don't think you are. I could see it on your fucking trash panda face. Was that I had the same problem, right, with the misinformation and invalidation, because when I was diagnosed, everybody knows now, right? I went 19 years. I didn't know shit about it. I thought we couldn't focus and I forgot shit. That was basically it. Anything else that I was given for information was third, fourth, fifth hand at best, from people that didn't know what the fuck they were talking about, for people that just wanted to write you off as a pain in the ass, oh, you're just hyperactive, whatever, blah, 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 go away. You're just you're just an idiot, go away. You're just lazy, you're stupid. All of that, up to and including this day, still. And now, knowing what I know now, which is leaps and bounds more than I did, yeah, you can see it. It is bullshit. The amount of fucking invalidation that we have to deal with from people that don't know any better because they're getting this misinformation.
And it just... Go ahead.
No. I believe your point was on his point, so please continue because I had a different thing.
Yeah, no, and I was just going to say, while I've seen the level of education grow through the years now, like as I start to research and I've gotten more information about ADHD, the 80s was the fucking dark age of ADHD.
Big time.
They just threw adult dose Ritalin at people and said, why the fuck are these kids zombies, right? That's that misinformation that persists because we didn't know how to treat people. But that's where Ritalin will just make your kids a zombie. Why are you putting your kid on Ritalin, right?
Yep.
To this day, right? Or Adderall or whatever, to this day they're saying.
Now they're addicted to Adderall.
Yeah. So but it's growing, not only is the education level grown, but the misinformation level has grown with it, right? Like back then people just didn't know. Now people are willfully ignorant and actually like attacking it with just stupidity, right? Bread gives you ADHD? Seriously?
Red Dye 40 gave me ADHD.
Yeah. Why doesn't the entire fucking world have ADHD then? There's so many people who eat fucking bread and grains and yeast out there. What? Fuck, you don't even need to eat bread to ingest yeast. Fucking go have a beer, right?
True.
Why doesn't people who drink beer all the time have fucking ADHD?
I will
Right?
say
It's
your
just-
video response to that was fucking stellar, though.
Yeah, I
Chunk of bread.
couldn't resist.
Shit.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I was sitting at Amanda's house and like she was working. I was like, "What? I got to do something fucking goofball for this." Anyways, so yeah, like the level of misinformation has stepped up to like even higher levels of dumb fuckery.
Oh yeah.
Right? Even as the education boosts, like the misinformation gets worse and worse too, which leads to additional validation. But go ahead, Lee.
I think that it's important to note that invalidation can come from just about anywhere. We're talking family and friends, we're talking coworkers, and as we've painfully mentioned before, yourself.
Yeah.
So last podcast,
No.
we gave you all... Yes. Where's your emotional support, Wookie? Go give him a hug.
Fuck. We're going here again. God damn it.
So last podcast, we gave you... Last podcast, we gave you all an assignment. So I'm going to check in and see how that assignment went with these guys. And I want you to be honest with yourself on if you did the assignment or not. How did it go for you? So Spaz, since you have your emotional support Chewbacca there with you, how did you do not invalidating yourself, or at least noticing that that little voice in your head that was being invalidating?
Honestly, I always recognize the voice in my head. I know when he's doing it. I don't stop him. That's the problem.
Well, that's your homework assignment this time.
I feel
Shouldn't
like
have told me
can't-
that, fucker.
I feel like I can't stop him most times. As for how did I do? If you were in my stream on Monday, you would have seen how poorly I've done. Because
Oh yeah. it was
Listen,
bad.
I was in pain.
No. There were channel bets on this one. It was fucking hilarious.
The mods in my stream were doing predictions. How long or how many times was I going to insult myself? How long would I keep doing it? They were putting this up on purpose to get my attention that apparently I was doing it and not noticing that I was doing it.
That's some deep green self-invalidation there.
That's how fucking good I did. You know the worst part? I didn't even notice that I was doing it. I had no idea. I wasn't even paying attention to it.
Hey, I profited off of it.
No, I bet you did.
Hey, Patrick.
No, don't even fucking come here. Let's not talk.
Patrick.
No.
You
I don't
want a
talk
Wookiee?
about it.
Dead monkey in the corner.
I'm dead. I don't count.
You count.
Right,
Have a
right.
Wookiee.
Okay, hold on. Well, wait a minute.
Where's your Squishmallow?
Let me get my boy here.
Patrick,
Squishmallow.
friend, how are you doing?
Not good.
Not good?
I'm not doing good.
All right, Bo Burnham. How was your 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, as you could probably tell by my lack of desire to talk about it,
It's been rough.
I'm really, really fucking good at identifying a voice. I'm really bad at feeling like I should stop that voice or thinking like I deserve to stop that voice.
You're not kind with yourself.
That's exactly what it
Nope.
is.
Not at all. And the sad part is the invalidation is so strong from my ADHD and being invalidated my entire life that it goes into all of my life as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I invalidate the ever-loving shit out of myself and my relationships and everything else in my life because I'm just so used to invalidating myself.
I am no longer comfortable with the energy that we are creating in the studio today.
Okay, Lee.
Okay, I'm going to look at my dog now.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and give a check-in too. Since this was a homework assignment and I've already run Spaz off camera and reduced Silverback to just about a quivering baby, I have been in a shit ton of pain the last couple of weeks. I've been in copious amounts of pain. And the big area that I invalidate myself with, when I invalidate myself, I tend to be much more critical in my pain and invalidating the level of pain I'm in, which I know this is an ADHD podcast, but just fucking roll with it.
We also talked about this in the last episode, though, too.
Yeah, we did talk about this in the last episode. And I have at least noticed that I'm doing it, which is what the homework assignment was, so good job, Lee.
Yay.
But being honest and kind to myself has been hard.
Yeah.
And that brings me to this week's homework assignment.
Oh, boy. Something else I can fail? Rock on.
You didn't fail. You did exactly what you were told to do, and that was to pay attention and make sure that you heard the invalidating voice in your head. We aren't going to catch it all of the time, but as long as you caught it some of the time, you still did the homework assignment. Ergo, not a failure.
I'll accept that.
Okay.
I'm going to bomb this next one, though.
You're not going to like this next one, though.
I'm going to bomb this next
You're
one.
not going to like it at all.
Good, because I've looked forward to accepting graciously everything that you put forth.
Yeah.
/ sarcasm.
I was about to say that fucking sarcasm, though.
First language.
So, this is what we have to do now. Now that we know what that little voice sounds like, we have to learn to be kind with ourselves when we have those invalidating thoughts. Because think about it. Whenever we are invalidated, we feel like shit. And they're not kind words. And all we kind of need is a hug in that moment. You know, Chewy. But before we can move on, before we start trying to tackle and tell that voice to fuck off, we have to remember that having those invalidating thoughts about ourselves is something that everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
Even people who don't have ADHD or have struggled with people invalidating them their entire life is still going to struggle with the occasional invalidating thought about themselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever heard my humor, 9 times out of 10, it's self-deprecating.
Same.
And a lot of that comes with invalidating my own experiences of myself.
Yep, same.
So, my challenge to you for the next 2 weeks, until we meet again, my friends, is to try to be kind to yourself. When you hear that voice, tell yourself that it is okay that you had that thought.
So clarification.
Go for it, what?
So we just have to do this until we record the next podcast, right?
No, 2 weeks, honey, 2 weeks. Nice try, though. Nice try.
Time travel.
For those that are unaware, we're recording a second podcast directly after this one, and he was trying to weasel his way out of it.
It's gonna be so good.
But it's okay to have those thoughts. Everybody does. And we're already being mean to ourselves. There's no need to pile on top of that by feeling like shit because we had that thought. And that's a very common issue for people, is not being kind to themselves because they had a negative thought. So
Absolutely.
be kind to yourself. Remind yourself it's okay you had that thought. That voice is probably not right. You don't have to go so far as to tell that voice to fuck off yet. Just be kind to yourself. And if you are up for the challenge, remind yourself that voice is probably just not right.
For being not right, it sure is fucking loud.
I'd like to lodge a complaint, but
I'm sorry, but our complaint department is currently closed. We do, however, have a plate of warm.
Is this Yeet Airlines?
We do. We do, however, have a plate of fresh baked cookies to the left, and weighted blankets and fleece blankets, if weighted blankets aren't your style, over to the right. We're going to give you a few minutes to adjust, get a cookie, maybe some milk into your system if you're not allergic to it like me, curl up with a nice blanket. A tissue box will be passed around for those that need it, and we'll see you after this commercial break.
Is modern day cereal just too sweet? Way too much sugar for your humdrum life? Well, we here at Squirrel Co. thought so too, so we came up with a new cereal called Trauma O's. Yes, instead of having to dole out trauma to your children personally, you can get them to be spoon-fed it, and in most cases by themselves. For those looking for nostalgia though, adults can enjoy this way to start your day as well. We know the sugary cereal of nowadays doesn't hit that nostalgia factor, and we had that in mind when creating this new product. Trauma O's will hit those memories that will bring you back to where it all started, the ultimate nostalgia factor. This is not the only thing in development, though. Coming soon is Trauma Ogres, where there are multiple layers of trauma mixed into our formula for the highest effectiveness with each and every bite. It's recommended by 9 out of 10 psychiatrists.
The psychiatrists pulled for this were either unconscious and cough, or are actual squirrels we put into lab coats. This is no way endorsed by anyone and is not actually sold anywhere for everyone's safety.
Get your Trauma O's today at your local grocery stores while supplies last.
Now that we've had this time to collect ourselves, let's move on to another touching. Spaz, stop touching yourself.
Sorry.
Topic.
Sorry. My emotional support Wookiee ran away.
He's over here petting his beard. It's okay. Self-soothing techniques.
This is my no-no zone. You're not allowed to touch me there, okay?
We're not here to judge stims. Thank you very much.
No feels.
I'm not judging at all. I fucked up everything I wanted to say. I just kept rolling with it. You should be used to that by now.
It's true.
But now that everybody has had a moment to adjust and such, we're going to talk about stigma and ADHD. I'm going to start this off with a little definition of stigma for those of you playing along at home who may not know exactly what a stigma is.
Isn't that movie where the girl
that was
got
Stigmata.
possessed?
With the hands.
Oh, I'm
Stigmata.
sorry. Yeah, right,
Okay,
right.
yeah.
It's a good movie.
This is why we share the same brain.
Stigma is defined as a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person.
Like your crown of thorns.
Stigma comes from a lack of proper information about the disorder and can add to the invalidation of people with ADHD. And an example of a stigma around ADHD is that stimulant medication used to help with the symptoms of the disorder is a dangerous and addictive drug that is nothing more than meth, and people who use stimulant medications are drug abusers.
That is probably one of my favorite ones, is that, oh, it's nothing but meth. You're just taking speed.
Well, and I personally love the one where you're addicted, right? You're going to get addicted, right? This is just a drug that you're going to get addicted to, which ignores all the research studies out there that show people who with ADHD who take their medicines properly are less likely to become addicts.
Hi, I'd like to introduce you to the concept of paradoxical effect.
And it's not that we're less likely to become addicts. It's that we would become addicts at the exact same level as if we weren't on the medication. So there is no increase or decrease by taking these medications.
So the decrease is that we lose the boosted portion, and what this does with taking your meds properly is actually put you back down to a neurotypical standard of becoming an addict.
Now, this is the part where Responsibility does front and tell everybody that your stimulant medications like your Adderall, your Ritalin, your Vyvanse, they are prescribed medications that should only be taken with a prescription, and that addiction can happen when it is misused.
Absolutely.
Just like many other medications out there on the market today, it does come with the risk of substance abuse if misused. But when taken properly, it has that paradoxical effect on the ADHD brain, slowing it down so that it can function.
Which is hilarious because I almost forgot to take mine this morning.
Also, don't share your meds.
Don't share your meds.
Fuck no. Mine. My candies. Thank you very much.
Right? And I don't take a stimulant med, and I still get people who are like, oh, you're just going to get addicted. It's not a fucking stimulant. You know, not all ADHD meds are fucking stimulants.
One of my other favorite ones to combat.
I am addicted. I'm addicted to nicotine.
I mean, I'm addicted to caffeine, but let's be real.
And caffeine, yeah.
I got the two right here.
I mean, I do have my addictions. I also have an addictive personality.
Let's not talk about games. MMOs are bad things for me.
I'm very thankful I haven't had time to get back into one.
Right.
Because I've got the money to do it. I just ain't got the fucking time to do it. So thank you, podcast editing, I guess, for that.
What are you going to do when we're done recording in the middle of the month?
Oh, he's got all the editing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll have to edit, but he'll be done, and we're taking a break.
I don't know.
You underestimate what it takes to edit.
I underestimate the fact that all these episodes are coming out before our season break. Holiday season, games on sale,
Ooh,
poor impulse control.
You're making him uncomfortable over there.
I'm sorry. Am I aiming too hard? Steam sale?
Okay, whoa.
Oh, the Steam holiday sale's coming soon. God damn it! I need to turn off the internet. Right?
Hi, Shaw Cable.
Okay.
Now that I'm completely done making Spaz squirm in his chair, let's talk a little bit more about stigma, shall we? Let's get back on track here.
What's the next stigma you got up, Lee?
I didn't actually list a bunch of stigmas. What I wanted to talk about in this section had to do with how stigma prevents people from seeking the assistance that could improve their quality of life.
Yeah, that's a bad one, actually. Very bad. How many times you open your comment section and you see somebody that has... Sorry, I guess I'm talking to Lee now.
You motherfucker. You motherfucker.
I couldn't help it.
Fuck you. God, fucking... You take a fucking break for a little while.
All
These
right,
motherfuckers...
seriously.
All right, Harambe, calm down.
We were on a break. Anyway, how many times have you opened your comments or your DMs and you've had stories from people telling you that they don't know what to do because, like, on top of the invalidation that they've been given, that they're just lazy, they're just stupid, blah, 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 but that they are hesitant to seek out a diagnosis because they're afraid to, because all of the stigma behind it, because, you know, well, what if I become addicted? What if I this? What if I that? Right?
Well, let's even talk about the biggest stigma that I faced when I was seeking out my knowing something was wrong with me and learning. Fucking the stigma of the word disorder, right? Like
the implication that something is wrong.
Like
with you.
I fought so hard not to, for a while, of not seeking the help that I needed because I was afraid that I was fucked up and disordered, not worth, you know.
Hey, Patrick. You are fucked up and
I
disordered,
know I'm fucked
but
up
we
and
love
disordered.
you anyway.
And I own that shit now because you know what? It makes me the fucking delicate little snowflake that I am.
You fucking sheep.
But anyways, no, it was a very serious thing of, you know, like just the thought of being disordered kept me from seeking help for, years after I left the military. So I left the military, right? And I went into a really deep depression, like a really deep depression. Not to the point where I was suicidal, but I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't get out of my recliner. My wife at the time was not with me at the house that I was in. I had a month and a half before I started school, and I sat in my house with the boxes completely packed. You know, they'd all been moved in, and the only things that I unpacked were the things that I had to unpack to live in. I just sat in the house for a month and a half like that, completely depressed.
Just unpack as you go.
Right, but then, you know, I didn't have a problem, right? Because I was a strong infantryman in the military, right? No problems at all, right? And then this idea, this thought process of something's wrong with me, but there's nothing wrong with me. Just rub some dirt on it and drive on. The stigma of being broken and having, you know, a mental disorder kept me till I was 40 before I got my depression diagnosed and my anxiety diagnosed. And then that opened the door to all of my other neurodivergencies that, you know, stacked all up on top of it, right? And it took me till I was 40 years old, 4 decades of life before I finally got over a stigma that was drilled into me by some dumbass who said, men aren't weak, we just need to be strong, right?
Yeah.
So these stigmas.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, these stigmas are so damaging because now I have years and years and years worth of trauma from my undiagnosed ADHD and depression and PTSD and all these other wonderful fun things that I have that I never treated, right? And then I used them to beat the ever-loving hell out of myself and invalidate myself and make myself feel like a failure my entire life because why can't I just be like everybody else? Well, because newsflash, dumbass, your brain's not like everybody else's brain.
Yeah, like, okay, so once again, this is an ADHD thing, but for once it's not an EDS thing either. I have bipolar disorder. I was originally diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 16 years old. And that it's not normal. It's not abnormal, but it's not the norm for somebody to be diagnosed in their teen years with bipolar disorder. That typically happens a little bit later. And that has to do with the hormone flux and everything like that. But I got diagnosed, and right after I left, I was in a private school that was for children that were at risk. And I got diagnosed while I was there. And out of that, I went into foster care. Or I went into a foster home. And my foster mother didn't believe in mental health. And I no longer received my medications, and it was pushed into me that I didn't have bipolar disorder. Until I believed I didn't have bipolar disorder, that I was a perfectly neurotypical, normal, no mental health issue having teenager who was just having a hard time adjusting to life. So I went my entire life invalidating the fact that I had bipolar disorder, that I was diagnosed by a professional as having bipolar disorder. And I've talked about how 7 years into my marriage, I almost lost my marriage. ADHD played a part in that. The other part of that was the fact that I was bipolar. So I was going through depressive episodes and mania. And we didn't have names for that shit. We didn't know what it was because I didn't have bipolar disorder. And if I didn't have bipolar disorder, why is that something I disclosed to my husband? Right? My husband couldn't reconcile the fact that I didn't disclose this information to him.
Because of the stigma behind disorder.
Right.
See, when it comes to me, I don't know if it's like I embraced it or if I gravitated towards, being the center of attention, right, as a club DJ. And it became an expectation for me, right? And everybody expected that out of me. That became the norm, and that just kind of carried on. And I think, see, now I'm getting all like psychologist on myself here. I think I kind of like buried myself in that, right? Like that persona was like the manifestation of my neurodivergency. And I think that's why I was so comfortable being that way and people knowing me as that. So I don't think I really had the opportunity to do any kind of like a trauma unpacking or anything like that, even still to this day, to be honest with you.
I mean, people with neurodivergencies have a tendency to create a persona separate from who they really are in order to fit in. And especially if we end up with a later in life diagnosis, like one of the things I struggle with is, who is Ley? Who am I? Because I have so many different costumes that I put on for so many different situations that I don't know which one is the real me.
I'll steal Spaz's personas. So I created a kind of over-the-top, loud, obnoxious, in-your-face persona that people know me as, right?
Same. I am completely different when I am not on social media.
Yeah, but when you get me at home or in that, in a really small, like, quiet, safe situation, I'm very introverted. I am very quiet. I'm very reserved. I like to stay home. I do not like people. I do not like crowds. I don't want to go out and do a lot of things. Like my idea of a great time for a trip, like out into the wild of the world, is going to a movie. Why? Because I go to a fucking movie and we all sit there and shut the fuck up and don't talk to each other. It's fucking awesome.
If it didn't cost so goddamn much, I agree with
you. And then here's me on social media running my mouth non-fucking stop, right? Challenging every motherfucker to come at me, bro, and let's see what you want to go with, right? Like,
well, not anymore because you don't make TikTok content.
I
still make clapbacks, bitch. I have not stopped. I have not shied away from those.
At least you haven't gone so over the top that you're ADHD people. Are you freaking kidding me? Oops, I broke them.
But no, for me, I'm very, I'm outspoken. I will initiate conversation and everything like that. At home, I'm content to just sit there and cross-stitch or read or watch something on TV. I mean, you get me around a group of people that I'm comfortable with, yeah, I can be outgoing, but if you drop me into a social situation that I don't know, I will put on whatever costume they want me to wear in that particular situation, whether it be the, quiet, reserved, stand in the back individual, or if they want the, loud, exuberant social media persona. But typically, if it's a group of good friends, then yeah, I can be loud and in your face and stuff like that. But shut up. The way that you see me when I'm on most social media is, it's a show.
It's a persona.
Yeah.
Of course it's a show.
It's something that we build that is not, I am not Silverback in real life. That's not me.
I'm not Lee is a nickname that applies only in my social media life. Nobody else in my real life calls me Lee.
I don't know which one I am some days.
And yeah, that's true as well, though, that sometimes we pull out the social media, like for me, it would be the social media persona, to deal with situations in my real life.
Yep.
And when that happens, I'm left to wonder, is the social media me real?
Which one am I? Like, which one am I actually, right? Do the introverted thing because I'm really the extrovert who, the big persona guy but I just run out of energy, so I do the introverted thing, or am I really the introvert who has to make a show, right? Like,
maybe you're an ambivert.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's really, and I'm a late life diagnosis, right? I have all of that stuff where I'm like, what's actually me? Like, where do I start? Where's Patrick? It's not.
I think the answer lies somewhere between the two.
Well, and it's not even just that, right? So like, okay, so let's take me for example, right? I do the SCA, so I have my name in the SCA is Marcos.
So you're a nerd.
Yes, I am a nerd.
Okay, continue.
Right. So I have Marcos. I have Silverback. I have Vinycam, who's usually my D&D character, who I've been, playing D&D as for a long, long time. And it's a persona that I play in like nerd circles and stuff like that. Right. I have all these different personas. Right. So which one am I? Like, where's actually Patrick, and what's all the personas?
Yeah.
All the world's a stage, and I have a costume for every fucking act.
Exactly.
Apparently.
Right.
I don't think I do. I think I have the two that I can think of off the top of my head. I've got me at home, and I've got me otherwise, I think. And that's something I've actually struggled with for many, many years, is trying to differentiate how much of each is me, right? Like, when there was a point once upon a time when I kind of retired from DJing, and I said, Spaz is dead. Let him die. And he never did. He never left.
He's here now, talking to us from the great beyond. I can tell because I have ADHD, which means I'm a psychic.
Oh, fair enough. Perfect. Well, you're talking to two of us then, because you got a dead Spaz here and a dead Silverback over there.
Hi, my name's Lee. I'll be your medium for the night.
I prefer medium well, thank you.
Medium rare for me, please. Thank you.
I was about to say, you can't step above medium.
Yes, you can.
Mm-mm.
Yes, you
It's a
fucking
disgrace.
can.
I mean,
It's a texture
enjoy your meat.
issue.
I mean, texture. I guess I get that. Yeah.
Enjoy your meat. I won't bash you for your meat.
18 plus is that way.
Okay, see, I had the thought and I just let it go. Thank you for saying what was on all of our minds.
Right. So
You're welcome. Thank you for addressing the gorilla in the room.
So we talked about how, like, stigmas are so harmful and they keep people from seeking out the help that they need, right? And it's just, I have a disorder. Doesn't mean I'm broken. It just means I'm different, right? That's all it is.
Yeah.
It does not mean that I am broken. Like, my brain works differently. That's all that it is. So,
I mean, I'm broken, but...
well, yeah, but
we know you are. But that's the one that I was going to go with, was my favorite stigma is the word disorder, or rather, why my favorite stigma is the word disorder is because people think that means that you are somehow broken. No, it means that your brain works differently, as Patrick just said. That's exactly what it is. And somehow people, they hide behind this belief that it means that you are lesser, that you are stupid, that you are incompetent, that you're not capable, when the fact of the matter is the exact opposite. Boom, bitches.
It's just that simple. And the problem with stigmas is they're like beliefs, right? They're so deep rooted and they're so believed that it's almost impossible to change people and their stigmas.
It sounds like something Lee said a couple episodes ago.
So,
what? I never.
So it's something really incredibly hard to overcome. So it's something we have to push back against really hard, and raise that awareness of how these stigmas are so harmful.
Yeah.
So that the community does not fall under the weight of these stigmas.
The problem, as one of the defenders of the community, is stigma is probably the hardest one to take on, because it is a belief, because people are so entrenched with it, right? Misinformation, I could do a fucking 3-minute Google and completely debunk you right there. Invalidation, again, it's similar idea, right? Invalidation's a little harder than misinformation, but I mean, it's still relatively easy to fucking slap somebody around for that. But a stigma?
It's pretty easy to show somebody you're being a prick.
Yeah, exactly. But stigma? That one's hard to fight against.
Because people just don't care. They believe their stigma. They believe that it's real, and there's nothing that you can say that will ever change their mind. So when we push back against it, we have to be very transparent and understand that, a lot of these people I clap back against, I don't care what they think. I don't give a flying fuck what they think. I'm not there to change their mind.
No.
I'm there to shine a light on their ignorance to the community so the community can understand. And people who may not know, right, if they find my stuff, they can see how harmful this is, and it leads them to a better source, right? Instead of this fuckwad who says, the guy who found ADHD says it's not real, right?
Fuck you, Randy.
So
I'm still waiting for my fucking debate, Randy.
But I couldn't pronounce neurodivergency fucking 5 days ago.
Yeah,
so,
but now I'm a pro. Just take your seaweed and don't eat yeast.
So I guess that's something that for our listeners that they need to understand is we're not there to change these fucking people's minds. We're not going to, right? These ignorant people who spout this shit, they spread these stigmas. We're not going to change their mind. We're not trying to change their mind.
No.
We are presenting.
I've only ever changed one.
And that guy didn't seem to be, he seemed to be open to education, right? It wasn't like, he wasn't a hardliner, right? Like he said something.
He wasn't hashtag tech IQ 190.
Yeah.
That's true.
He wasn't a hardliner. He wasn't one of these people who was trying to sell something or trying to, do this for clout or controversy or something like that. He said something, you responded, you provided data and research, and the person accepted it and took it in, right? That you can usually pick those people out right away because those are the people we don't normally deal with, right? Yeah. But for our listeners, we love when you tag us in things, but understand we're not going to change the people's minds most of the time of the shit that you tag us in. Those fucking people don't care. They do not care for information.
They just want the show.
They want the show. Now, why do we push back against them? I get this comment a lot. Why do you let these people get to you? Because if we don't push back against this shit, then this misinformation and these stigmas and the invalidation grows, right? We have to be, like we've talked about, we have to be the sword and shield of this community. We have to push back against it and raise awareness because there's so many problems in it. Which is why, this month is incredibly important. This ADHD Awareness Month is incredibly important because this is our chance to raise awareness and push back against the invalidation and the stigmas.
So I'm hoping at least one of you motherfuckers out there listening to us blabber on about stigma, invalidation, and misinformation is currently asking yourself, well, then what the fuck can I do? Because this is honestly a battle that everybody with ADHD is in together. It is our community and our community alone that is going to change the hearts and minds of the people who are spreading the misinformation, that are being invalidating, and that are spreading stigma around. And really, I only have one good answer for you, and that is to be unapologetically yourself, whoever yourself might be. Please note that even though we talked about how people with ADHD create personas to end up when they're in particular situations and things like that, that it's not necessary. And that's one of those things that I know I'm personally trying to come to terms with and that I am working on, is being comfortable acting however I feel in the moment. So be unapologetically you, knowing that there is nothing wrong with you because you have ADHD. You are unique. You are different. This is true. But different doesn't mean bad.
I've said it in a couple of my videos before. Be unapologetically neurodivergent.
That's right.
Because there's no reason to be apologetic for who you are.
I mean, I know on my social media, I've had panic attacks.
I've had one.
I've had complete breakdowns. I have had some really upbeat, fantastic days. I have some days where I am low energy or no energy. I have days where I am self-deprecating. I have days where no matter how many times I'm hit with a tactical love nuke, it just doesn't sink in.
Yeah.
And I am myself through and through, and I don't try to put on a mask and hide the fact that I'm going through these things, because that is how I battle stigma, is by being myself and shining a light on what makes us different.
Yeah, me too. If you've seen my channel, you see that I don't hide things. I don't hide emotions. I have cried. I've had attacks. I talk candidly and honestly about my failings and my setbacks. And and the most common thing that I hear about this is it's so refreshing to see somebody so real, right? Like I don't hide me. Right? I want you all to see that I'm not perfect. I'm not some
I hear that a lot too.
Stage monkey up there on, dancing a jig for you guys to get whatever you want, right? No, I'm me. I'm going to show me. I'm going to show my struggles. I'm going to show you what it's really like, right? So that you understand that you're not alone in this struggle, but you also see all the great days.
That's exactly why I do it too, right? I try and be as authentic as I possibly can to show people they're not alone, right? And yeah, I've got good days, I've got bad days, and we all do. And you're not alone in your struggle. I go through it, Lee goes through it, Patrick goes through it, we all go through it.
So we're going to go ahead and let you bury back into those blankets and process those hard emotions of self-love and acceptance that we are now throwing at you and telling you that you should feel. And we're going to take a moment for this commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some more positive sides of ADHD.
Absolutely.
We're not all doom and gloom.
Thank you for calling the ADHD hotline, sponsored by Squirrel Co., a subsidiary of ADHD Incorporated. If you're currently having a meltdown and need to scream into the void, press 0 now. Otherwise, please choose from the following options. To have someone activate your hyperfocus to start a task because your executive dysfunction has paralyzed you, please press 1. If you need reassurance because imposter syndrome is acting up and telling you you're trash and not worthy of success, love, or praise, please press 2. To gush about your latest hobby or hyperfocus because the people around you are already sick of hearing about it and you just need to show someone your hard work, please press 3. If you can't find the item you literally just had in your hand and need someone to walk you through the last hour so you can find it again, please press 4. If you can't remember why you called us, but know it was important, please press 5. If you're suffering from decision paralysis and need someone to talk you through figuring out what you want to do, please press 6. If you're shopping and need someone to talk you out of buying the 4,782,746 things in your cart because buying things gives you dopamine, but you just can't afford it, please press 7. To set reminder alarms to remind you to drink your water, eat something yummy, take your meds and unclench your jaw, please press 8. If you are having a meltdown and need to scream into the void, please press 0. If you need to hear these options again, because you have ADHD and have already forgotten which option you needed, please press 9.
You hear us say often that ADHD is not a superpower, and I want to make it perfectly clear that here at ADHD Incorporated, we honestly stand behind everybody when it comes to their ADHD. And when we say that ADHD is not a superpower, we're talking about for us. For us as individuals, we don't view our ADHD as a superpower. If you personally view your ADHD as a superpower, then your ADHD is a superpower. And we just want to make sure that before we jump into this section, and I'm going to read the whole title of the section and everything like that for you, that we make it abundantly clear that ADHD can be a very depressing disorder. And for some people, framing the disorder as a superpower helps them get through what they need to get through with their symptoms and their disorder. How many times can I stick disorder in a single fucking sentence?
That many.
However many that was.
Yep, 3.
So your ADHD may be a superpower to you, and if that's the case, congratulations. I'm happy that you found a way to frame your disorder that works for you. Remember that not everybody views their ADHD as a superpower. After all, if I viewed my ADHD as a superpower, well, I'd be motherfucking Superman, and I'd be having a kryptonite butt plug all the fucking time. Thanks for that one, by the way, Jay. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was also a very colorful image.
No, the important thing to take away is to never assume that your ADHD is the same way everybody else deals with ADHD. The minute you assume that everybody should deal with it the same way you do is when you become the problem.
Because you start invalidating the experiences of other people.
Mhm. Exactly. And we do not like invalidating the experiences of other people because this is a, say it with me now, spectrum disorder.
I didn't say it out of pure spite.
Well, yes, of course, because you're a fucking ADHD.
No,
person.
I'm bitter. I'm bitter and petty.
It's that kryptonite butt plug.
It's that kryptonite butt plug.
You fuckers make me regret saying so much.
Do you regret your life decisions right now?
I'm sorry. Yes. No, actually, at this very moment, I'm questioning all of the life decisions that I've ever made that have led me to this exact point in time and if it was worth it or not.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You made my night.
But getting back on track, ADHD may not be a superpower, but it does have its plus sides.
Fuck yes, it does.
When it comes to having ADHD, sure, it comes with a bunch of negatives, but if we focus just on the negative sides of our disorder, we're more likely to make the things that make us the amazing, unique individuals that we are.
Mm-hmm.
Let's tackle one of the ones that is commonly used in the superpower narrative that does make us feel a little cringe when we think about it as a superpower, but let's reframe it into a slightly more positive manner, and that is hyperfocus.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's a fucking horrid ass symptom.
Sometimes it's fucking amazing.
Yep.
If you can actually get your hyperfocus to work for you, it fucking rocks.
Yeah, because you end up taking like 6 hours before a fucking school deadline where you're required to write a 2-page paper on the history of epidemiological surveillance studies. And the teacher has told you you're going to fail the class, so you might as well drop it when you're over the halfway point. And just to fucking spite him, you sit down and you write a whole 12-page masterpiece on the topic that you're pretty sure he didn't end up reading just because of the sheer volume of your fucking paper, and gave you 100 on it.
As we flash back to episode 2.
But
yeah, I have ADHD. I tell the same stories over and over again. Don't at me.
It's true. I ain't adding you. I'm trying to up the listenership.
Oh yeah, go listen to episode 2.
Yeah, I think it's 2.
Let's talk about my hyperfocus. Okay, so I found TikTok. I found a whole bunch of information on TikTok, and what did I do?
Did you rabbit hole?
Oh, not only did I rabbit hole, I went down my college's library.
So you complete Alice in Wonderland that shit. You are no longer a silverback. You are just straight up fucking Alice.
No, So I will be honest with you. About 6 months ago, I knew fuck all about ADHD.
This is my shocked face.
Right? I didn't know a goddamn thing. I didn't even know I had it. Right? I got attacked by a couple of ADHD videos on TikTok and then decided to go research. And next thing I know, I was making content.
Not sorry, by the way.
Right? And I've made a lot of content and I've learned a fucking lot to the point where while I am not any type of expert with a degree or anything like that,
none of us are.
I am a great person to talk to point you in in the right direction for what you need to do for research.
Yeah.
Like I am knowledgeable. I am not a professional. Don't take my word as gospel, but I can point you to the sources and the things that I used so that you can go and look at the proper information and educate yourself as well.
Absolutely.
The gospel according to the silverback.
Hey, I am Harambe Jesus, right?
It's Harambe.
Whatever.
Harambe? You can't.
Harambe. Fucking A. I'm not going to play your fucking stupid games of dead gorilla. Fuck all.
Now I'm just picturing a hairy Gumby is all I'm picturing now.
But does it have a kryptonite butt plug? It does now, bitch.
Mm-hmm. We're not here to judge.
That ass, though.
We're not here to kink shame. Ape shame, but not kink shame.
So yes, hyperfocus can be a wonderful thing when you can activate it.
You just need to activate your hyperfocus.
And you can use it and harness it properly, right? The problem is hyperfocus on the flip side, sometimes you can't control it. So,
but we're here to focus on the fact that if you can get it to do the thing that you need it to do, that it is a fantastic tool.
Yes,
absolutely. Hey, I'll give you an example. Episode 0, Episode 1, both being edited over the course of 3 days.
Right? You knock those out fucking quick as shit.
And I rabbit holed that shit hard.
Not to mention that right now we're throwing a shit ton of fucking content at him to fucking go through too. He has by the end of tonight, he'll have 3 episodes to edit. So
yep. And you bet your ass that I'm going to be able to sit down here, and there's a very, very high chance that I will be able to sit down, open the project file, get everything loaded up, and fucking just hyper-focus the shit out of it. I guarantee you it'll happen.
He doesn't want to miss the holiday Steam sale.
Right?
Fuck you. No, I don't want to miss the deadline, even though you guys tell me the deadline isn't important. It's still important to me, and it's also a motivating factor in getting the hyperfocus to trigger.
The deadline isn't important, Spaz. I haven't uploaded anything to YouTube yet.
That's right.
Anyway.
That, for the record, is my goal over the season break, is to get all of that done.
Because ADHD works differently for everybody.
So, yeah, hyperfocus, like you said, could be an excellent tool when it works for you. So, are we ready to move on?
Yeah, we've got resilient, somebody say that word for me.
Resiliency.
Yeah, that word. We have that next. People with ADHD tend to be exceptionally resilient creatures. We get knocked down time and 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 time again.
I don't know who you're talking about.
You, in particular.
God damn it, not again.
No, not you. You.
Oh.
Oh,
you listening.
You. Yeah, you.
Yeah,
You fuckers out there listening to us.
You. But yeah, we have a tendency to bounce back. You know, we fall off the horse, we get back on it. We keep going. It's, sometimes a very vicious cycle. Sometimes it works against us, just like everything on this list.
Mm-hmm.
But resiliency is one thing that we have so much of.
And it's awesome at times. It's truly fucking awesome at times when you just will not take no for an answer. You will not accept failure. Your brain says, fuck no, not today.
Mm-hmm.
And the best part is, you know, you may fail. Like you the more you fail before you hit that final achievement is almost better, because once you hit that achievement, it makes it that much more amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more you fail, the more you've learned.
The more you know. Do.
That's twice I got to put that in here.
So it's quite an awesome thing at times.
Anything to add to this, Spaz?
That one there, I don't have as close a relationship with.
You don't think you're resilient?
I mean, maybe.
I got a question for you. I'm gonna ask you about your resiliency here.
Hashtag resiliency check. Hey, I said the word.
I'm gonna chime in here with the fact that, so my friend here, how often do you hit the deadline for the podcast?
So far, out of 6 episodes we put up, I hit it 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you know, a couple were on the deadline, but a little bit later, right?
On the day.
But does that stop you from turning around and going back and doing it again? Does that slow you down from wanting to do it again?
No.
Also, not to mention some of the struggles that you had while editing the podcast, such as issues with audio, which you felt guilty over. And don't even fucking try to say that you didn't, because you kept apologizing even though we told you it was okay. To having a shit ton of fucking puppies and being overstimulated all of the fucking time, and yet you still bounced back and got 5 out of 6 of those episodes posted on time.
And yeah, so you don't let this stop you. Like you
stop
have
invalidating
a
yourself.
level of resilience.
Good point.
So
I told you I failed the homework.
We love
week.
you. Well, and see, this is part of what we're here for. We're not just saying don't worry about it.
We keep each other in check.
We're not just saying it. We're not just saying it because, you know, don't worry about it. It's okay. We got you. We know you. We know you're resilient. We know you're going to do it.
But you pose a good point. I hadn't considered that one as a reference, but of course that's, you know, asshole brain being an asshole. So yeah, I didn't think about it.
So there you go.
Did you hear the voice? Did you recognize the voice?
I did, and now I need to burn down the kitchen.
So okay,
that face though. Fuck. That is the thing of nightmares.
After that point, let's go ahead and move on to the next point.
So we tend to be ingenious. And if you don't know what that word is, just replace it with clever.
Hey.
If a system doesn't work for us, if there's a way to improve something that already has a system for being done, we're going to find it. We will implement it. And by God, it's going to fucking work better than it did before.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to find the article. I read an article about 5 months ago from a game developer. And this game developer said that they love to have ADHD people beta test the game because those motherfuckers will find the best ways to break a game possible.
Yeah.
If you're looking for somebody to break a game, I'm currently looking for employment. So you can email me at leeneedsajob at pleasetakepityonme.com.
Seems legit.
This game developer noticed that people with ADHD tend to be very clever and find ways to make the system work. And if it doesn't work, they find it, or if it doesn't work for them, they find a way to make it work better for them, which tends to break games, which are very rigid system-based games most of the time. So it works really well for them because these people come in and we break the games for them, and that they can see where their systems aren't working. But it also makes us look really smart because guess what? Fuck you and your broken system. I'm going to fix it for you.
I had a friend of mine who used to work at BioWare up in Edmonton, and that was his job, was QA. Mm-hmm. So he had to go in there and try and break the game as best he could, and fucking he was on it. He's an undiagnosed, I'm pretty goddamn sure he's ADHD. He's diagnosed BPD and depression.
Let's take a look at a system that a lot of us have dealt with before, that is not subject to having a job in QA for game development. Filing. Mm-hmm. Ever have to put something in alphabetical order? Bunch of fucking files and shit? And then you've done it and you can't fucking find what you're looking for?
Like every goddamn day. You should see my filing system on the computer here. I start organized, and then from there it's just like shit's everywhere.
So I'm putting together a game called Mental Health, or a project called Mental Health Games. And I started off by alphabetizing all of the people who've applied to participate in the project. And that didn't go so well for me because then I could never find anybody. You know, it didn't work well for me. I would always misfile something. So instead of grouping them together by name or letter, I started grouping them by diagnosis. And then after I grouped them together by diagnosis, I would group them by what they wanted to talk about. And then I would group them by who was a professional and who was not in a particular field of pertaining to what episode I wanted. And then from there, I broke it down to episodes. So each episode has like 4 or 5 files in it. It's a system that sounds needlessly complicated, but instead of having to go through, 400 fucking files to find the information that I need, I know what I need is in episode 1. I know that I need this particular person and that this was the particular topic they want to talk about, so there they are.
And that's a system that works better for you.
For me.
Definitely.
Doesn't mean it's going to work for Spaz or Patrick, but it's going to work better for me.
Yeah.
And it saved me time.
But you're also the client in that case, so that's what matters.
When something doesn't work, we tend to make it work for us.
Yeah.
People with ADHD also have a strong sense of fairness.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Let's give an example for this. Accommodations for ADHD are commonly used to invalidate us. People will say that an accommodation in a school setting, for example, gives the student a leg up over neurotypical peers. But they don't, as we discussed in episode 2, these accommodations don't exist to help us improve faster than any neurotypical peer. They exist to create an even playing field for everyone. Because of that invalidation, we have a tendency to understand that what's fair doesn't always mean what is equal. Those accommodations, for instance, provide us with additional things in order to help us, but they create a fair and level playing field for us and other students. Damn, follow that up, bitches.
That's a great one.
I wish I had them when I was working, going to school, blah, blah, blah. But I've said that before. Fuck my life.
But, and that's a great one. And I'm going to expand off of that. Is we know that equal is not always fair, right? So we suffer, or a lot of ADHD people have, I won't say suffer, a lot of ADHD people have justice and sensitivity issues
Never
as well,
heard of her.
right? Which is all about fairness, right? And because we're being treated unfairly, we push back against that type of treatment. We're the 3 assholes of ADHD, right? We are the embodiment of justice sensitivity, right? Like we do not take the unfair and unequal treatment of people just because we're born this way, and we deserve to be treated fairly and properly. And so we put a lot of ADHD people push back against unfair treatment. So yeah, there's a big, strong sense of fairness and justice in ADHD people as well.
Yeah.
Another one that's on this list that it was further down the list, but I'm cover it now, is that we're very compassionate people as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of that ties in with our sense of justice, our need for things to be fair, or our desire for things to be fair. We know what it's like being invalidated. We understand the problems that come with that invalidation. And for that reason, we have a tendency to be more gentle with other people, especially with other people who are not the quote unquote norm. People who are like us, have some sort of disorder. And I'm not talking about just like ADHD people, stick up for ADHD people. And, well, yes, there's been infighting before between ADHD and autism. I will go to fucking bat for anybody who's goddamn autistic against a neurotypical who's given them shit.
Bet your ass.
The same with anybody who has BPD, anybody who has bipolar disorder, anybody who suffers with anxiety or depression, people with physical disabilities, people with mental disabilities. I will fucking go to bat for any fucking one of them.
Here's the part where I can authentically say, and 100% mean it, welcome to the server. Because the Discord is not just for ADHD people. It is for neurodivergents of all kinds. And we will fucking go to war for you.
And while we say we're ADHD advocates, what we really are and what we do, not just, we focus on ADHD because we understand it, right? But it doesn't mean that we don't stand up for other neurodivergencies as well.
100%.
We are mental health advocates, right? We are mental health advocates. We are here to support all people with their mental health. We talk about depression. We talk about anxiety. We talk about dysgraphia and dyslexia and dyscalculia and all these things like that. These are all different neurodivergencies. And we talk about them all because we have experience in them all and we defend them all, right? It does not matter, right? We are here to advocate for all mental health and physical health as well. Like physical disabilities.
I mean, a lot of us are also social justice advocates as well.
100%. I will 100%. That is almost what I did on my TikTok initially. I started talking about social justice and politics. I reined that back just because I didn't feel like I needed to anymore. Yeah. But I found a different place to
you still
advocate
see
for.
it on my TikTok from time to time.
So I want to reference something that I just did recently. It'll be a little while after this now because of the thing, but
God, this could literally be anything.
Compassion-wise, I'm talking about compassion.
Okay, so it's not when you burnt down the hospital. Got it.
No, it's not when I burnt down the hospital. But
okay.
No, so I responded to a comment on one of Spaz's videos about a guy who said, I don't believe in ADHD, right?
You guys both did.
And I slapped the shit out of him for it because it was stupid, but he spelled believe wrong in his comment. Right. And in my video, a couple of people started piling onto that. I believe in spelling and shit like that. Look, this dude was an idiot and a moron. And his beliefs and the way he talked about things were just ass backwards and had no scientific basis whatsoever. But even though he was a moron and even though I didn't like him for what he was doing, I still was not okay with people possibly invalidating a neurodivergency that he might have. Right? One that I suffer from, which is dysgraphia, right? I have a problem spelling. I have massive problems spelling when I write it out. I can spell out a word perfectly when I speak about it, but when I write it out, it does not come out properly. So, this guy's an idiot. I hated him. I couldn't stand what he was talking about. He was full of misinformation and problematic situations, but I still showed him compassion because I didn't want to see our community lower itself and be doing ableist behaviors against somebody, right? So I showed this guy who is quote unquote my enemy at this point, compassion by standing up for him and saying, we can't do this.
Whereas, and I'm the one who initially did it, right? I'm the one who initially did the spell check on him, but I didn't look at it from your angle.
I wasn't being overly compassionate to the dude, but the one thing I made sure I didn't touch on was spelling. And that was because I have issues with spelling. But here's the difference, right? Is that your sense of justice came into play afterwards, after you were sat down, explained why this wasn't right, because I know this is a conversation you and Patrick had.
Yeah.
Like why this wasn't okay. You were like, no, you're absolutely right. I shouldn't have done that, and you learned from it.
Yeah.
And knowing not only will you prevent yourself from doing that in the future, but you might also educate other people on why it's not okay to do that.
Yeah. There's a high chance. So,
Unlike what the fuck is the TikTok user's name? Is it Tiziant?
Tiziant.
Yeah, yes. and his whole video that came out here, been a couple weeks ago by the time this airs, where he basically mocked Madison Cawthorn for his writing and equated, because he has very messy handwriting, equated his handwriting to his level of intelligence. I fucking hate Cawthorn.
Yes, right?
So fucking much, but I still
that was a bridge too far.
Am not okay with that.
I'm gonna say something here.
Please don't.
Right? As many of you guys know, I have a high IQ. Right? We've talked about it before. I have a high
IQ. IQ 190.
Not that high.
Okay.
But my handwriting is horrific. Why? Because I have dysgraphia. Right? I have a neurodivergency that causes problems with my handwriting. Right? It has nothing to do with my level of education or my intelligence. So that's ableist and it's shitty and you can't fucking do things like that. And then when he kept on doubling down on it and saying, oh, I'm making, if you don't like it, don't follow me. No, quit being an ableist prick.
Or
right?
all the people he did tell unfollow me when they fucking said that this is wrong.
That's not the kind of response you give there.
No, and it's a sad thing because he generally is a very good advocate for.
I have agreed with like 99.9% of his shit.
A lot of the stuff that he does, he calls out people who are behaving badly about COVID and politics, and he's helped families who have had their kids taken away unjustly. Like he's a great advocate.
Yeah.
And he stepped on his dick here and then doubled down and wouldn't look at the mistake that he made and understand. All he had to do was say, "Oh, I didn't know that. I will be better." And people will be like, "Cool." 99% of people, once you do that, are going to be like, "Okay,
learning
cool."
moment."
Right? Now that you've learned, don't do it again. We've educated you. Awesome. Right? It's all you have to do. Right? Because we all make mistakes. We're all fucking human. Stop stepping on your dick. Learn from your mistake. Don't be an asshole.
But he hasn't. And this is where my sense of justice comes in. It's like, dude, I agree with 99.9999999% of your shit. This is the one thing that you did unjustly. You handled it poorly. And now I'm doing the only thing that I can do and pulling my follow from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I did. I have followed him since the very beginning of my times on TikTok, and he's no longer a follow. I will not follow him anymore until I see that he has made a
retraction, taking the video down, and an apology.
Yeah, if he makes an apology, then I will talk about it. But yeah,
I had it easy that way. I didn't have him followed because I'd forgotten to a long time ago, so just made the choice easy for me.
So
ADHD saved you.
Hey.
Well, now that we've dove down, that aspect of, we've compassion and fairness and justice sensitivity and things like that. I think we're ready to. We've shown how they're really good things. So let's go ahead and let's talk about spontaneity.
Spontaneity. Well, Jesus, that's a bitch I know. People with ADHD tend to be exceptionally spontaneous. And yes, this does have a huge drawback, and it is one that affects me so deeply. And that is like the impulse spending. However, if I focused on just the fact that I was spontaneous with the impulse spending and stuff like that, then it would seem like this horrible fucking thing. But the truth of the matter is, some of the best adventures I've ever gone on in my entire life have been a spur of the moment, I feel like doing something, let's go fucking do it. Whether it's a 3-day fucking camping trip into the middle of fucking nowhere, or fucking driving 14 goddamn hours to go see a friend that I haven't seen in like 6-7 months.
Yeah.
The spontaneity of it has led me to going on adventures and having experiences that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Right? Like, I am a kid who grew up in the Midwest. Right? And I joined the Navy, and who would have ever pegged me from the Midwest as a surfer, right? Because one day we were on the beach and they had a rental board and I took it out and I started surfing. And now I've surfed places like Hawaii's North Shore and the beaches of Maui and the Gold Coast. And like, I've got all these wonderful stories about surfing in places, and people are like, you grew up in Ohio. How the fuck did you learn how to surf?
Well, right? Let me tell you.
I just got bored and I picked up a surfboard.
This is one of those things you and I have in common also, Patrick. I'm from upstate New York, like upstate New York. Like there are no surfers in New York, really. Like none.
Give me a fucking surfing
But
board.
I learned how to surf in Virginia from my husband. And I think the first time I posted a picture of myself with one of my surfboards, I had a bunch of people like telling me it wasn't mine and all that stuff. Like, no. I surf very poorly. My fucking balance is shit. But I do know how to surf. Yeah. And I didn't know that I had that in common with Patrick. So this this spontaneously put together episode that I made like 3 hours before we ended up recording this led me to an adventure of learning something new about Patrick and finding out that we had more in common than just the SCA.
Right. And being a veteran.
There you go.
And being a vet.
I cannot cop to either of those.
And being awesome.
I don't know how to surf. I was never in the military.
So I got a question for you. I want to talk about your spontaneity a little bit, since you're kind of hiding again.
I didn't think
I
was.
It sounded like you were ducking out of a conversation again. So
I didn't think I was. I was just saying that no, I don't have those things. It was funny to me, okay?
Your face tends to be funny to a lot of people, but that's not the topic of discussion right now.
It's true. Okay, so in answer to your question, what was the first one that I ever made? I guess let's address your questions in the order that they pertain. I got onto it because a buddy of mine was on it, and it was pandemic. We were locked down. I was bored. I was laid off. I had nothing to do. So what did I do? When my buddy came over, he said, you should join this. You should try this. And my thought was, it's another goofy outlet for silly shit videos. Why not? And the first one I ever did was a conversation with my ADHD brain in the parking.
No. I got a question for you. Your first video, I'm pretty sure it was about bull balls.
I'm getting there. A conversation with my ADHD brain about how I wanted a statue. Because we were in the parking lot of Canadian Tire, and there was some guy who in the fucking in the back in the box of his truck had a fucking giant bronze statue of a buffalo.
Yeah, buffalo
and
balls.
It was,
that's right. That was buffalo
it was
balls.
because it was such an accurate statue. It had the balls on it, and I'm like, I'm doing a video on this because what the hell? And fucking zoomed right in on the nuts on this thing, and that was stupid, but it was funny.
And he never looked back.
Apparently not.
Right. Then never looked back, and now he's this amazing content creator, pillar of our community,
upright and moral citizen.
And he made a video about buffalo balls,
wanted in 13 countries.
Not spontaneous at all.
No,
I'm bored, and I'm gonna start making videos, and now you've got a fucking following of 100 and almost 20,000 followers.
Yeah, well, and a lot of mine are based on spontaneity. Granted, there's some that I do plan out, but I mean, the one that I put up today, it was pure spontaneity. Because I forgot ingredients when I was trying to make dinner. And so fucking I had to go back there and I'm like, you know what? I need to fucking post something. And that's all it was me making a game show out of the fact that once again, I got to pay the ADHD tax because I wasted time, I wasted money, I wasted gas in order to go and fucking get the things that I should have got the first time that I went to the store. You had a question?
What were you going to ask me?
I was going to ask what your first video was.
My first video was about the SCA. I posted about the my SCA hobby, and because I didn't initially, my TikTok name was my SCA name, and I was going to post about the SCA and politics, and then I decided that was probably not a good mix.
No.
So I decided to. I shitposted some random nerd stuff for a little bit, and then I found ADHD and started talking about ADHD. So, why did I start talking about ADHD stuff? Well, I was like, why the fuck not? This is something that obviously I'm dealing with, right? So I started chronicling my journey, right? And just why? I'm 42 years old and I'm on a kitty app.
Yeah, that was kind of the mentality I had as well going in. I'm on a quote-unquote kitty app, so I might as well do kitty shit. So that's what I did.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and then, it leads to, sitting on a couch in Maryland and putting a piece of bread in my mouth and making fun of somebody for dumb shit.
But at your girlfriend's house, which you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yes, the girlfriend's house that I was at was, she actually was a follower of mine initially. That's how we met.
And this is all attributed to spontaneity.
Yes.
Right? Like, who in their right mind gets on a plane and flies to a fucking another state to go meet somebody, right? With no backup plan whatsoever.
Once upon a time, my wife and I, for our first wedding anniversary, we drove from Alberta to Albuquerque to meet people that we were fucking online gaming friends with. No backup, no nothing. Off we go.
Yeah. Initially, when I was supposed to go see her for the first time, I was supposed to drive down there, right? And that didn't work out, right? That would have been 8 hours of driving, right? So that's a pretty fucking big trek for that. So instead, I hopped a plane. But the problem with hopping a plane is I don't have a car to get away.
I am fucking stranded.
Like, if it goes badly, there's no backup plan at this point. I don't have any spontaneous problem. Thankfully, it did not go bad, and it was wonderful, and now I have an amazing girlfriend out of it. But still, like, fuck.
All this humor stuff that we've got going on here that I just killed with whatever butchery of the word humor was, is a coping mechanism for a lot of people with ADHD. And because of that, we tend to have fantastic senses of humor and can laugh our way through just about any situation. We tend to lean on self-deprecation a lot, which can harm our mental health. So we do have to balance humor for the sake of humor and humor as it's known for self-deprecating reasons, but we tend to have I think I have a pretty decent sense of humor.
So I would even go as far as saying that this is just a branch of our creativity, right? We can on the spot start making jokes about just about anything. And it's part of the creativity that we have, right?
I'm not creative. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay, right. But, there is, we come up with we'll talk about just random things, one little line of something, and we will seize on it and start making jokes. And then 40 minutes later, we have to finally wipe all the tears out of our eyes and get back to recording our podcast. And our creativity branches out past just, humor. We, art, writing, working with your hands, studying things, like there are my study of fencing, right? These, as Lee is, stitching away down there.
I'm literally
right?
cross-stitching
Spaz
while we shoot this.
Thing there, right? He's got his hat on that he, for his steampunk mode, if you watch his streams, right? So we are, and not, fuck, let's talk about Spaz's creativity and music. I mean, Jesus Christ.
That motherfucker has creativity
right?
in spades. Fucking asshole did not share.
He makes me feel fucking terrible, because I don't have any. Yeah, creativity, right? Leads to a lot of out-of-the-box thinking and things like that, and creates great art. And, there are rules that we're just like, fuck your rules. I'll do what I want. And we come up with amazing things for it, right? So
I have got a story that directly relates to that.
Go for it.
So there's a certain 9-year-old that I know who is recently diagnosed herself, but I was explaining to her basically this entire topic, how yeah, it sucks because her biggest problem that she deals with is emotional regulation. She has a real problem with that. However, the perks that she's blessed with are her creativity. She is so fucking creative. We got on her iPad that game Gotcha Life and Toka Life, or one of the two. I'm sure other parents out there will, shrug and be like, yeah, I've heard of it. But it's a program where you create your own little characters, and they allow you to dress them up and, color their hair, give them different hairstyles, blah, 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 all that shit. But, cute little anime type things. She has over 100 different characters that she has created, designed, named, made backstories for a whole bunch of them. And then she puts them into this little, the little scene setting, and acts out little scenarios with these hundreds of characters that she has.
Oh, that's cool.
She also, because her iPad is linked to my phone, she also, when I initially got a copy of CapCut, she got that as well. So she started teaching herself how to use CapCut. I haven't sat down and actually showed her yet. I gave her a couple of tips, but she's creating her own little cartoons out of it now with her original characters that she has created. It is amazing.
Oh, that's
pretty freaking awesome. So as you can see, creativity in spades, we branched from talking about how we can be super humorous into all the creativity that we are experiencing, So I want to segue out of creativity into something that is going to surprise no one. And that is that ADHD people, when they find things that is super interesting, can talk about it for hours.
Ever.
Yeah, right.
Have you heard our podcast, folks? I mean, Jesus.
If the listeners could see the cutting room floor.
You've heard our podcast. What you don't hear is the other 2 hours that are sitting on the cutting room floor.
Right? Constantly. These recordings never, I don't think we've beat 3 hours yet. Like, we have not come in under 3 hours yet.
Tonight might be at the 3 hour mark.
Maybe. Yeah, we're getting there. We might hit the 3 hour mark. But keep in mind, this is the 7th episode that we've recorded. 8th episode we've recorded, right? So we're starting to find our stride. But we haven't lost a lot of the humor either. I mean, as we're sitting here talking about the awesome parts of ADHD students, yeah, we're in the 50 minutes plus at this point right now, right? And this is going to be hard to shave a bunch of this stuff, you know.
I think my absolute favorite thing about this is that we originally went into making a podcast thinking that we wanted no more than 45 minutes for an episode.
Right.
What the fuck were we?
I don't think we've ever come close, fucking right. But, you know, so yeah, we talk and we have at least super engaging conversations about all these things. Like we joke, we call it info dumping, right? And I love it. I fucking love when nerds info dump to me about the things that they love, right? Because it's so much fun to watch somebody get so excited about sharing that information, and then they let me return the favor, right? And they get me going down something that I'm super interested in, and I info dump on them, and it's awesome, right? And next thing you know, we've fucking traveled 6 hours in time ahead, and it's fucking 4 a.m.
Time travel.
So
I'm sensing a theme tonight.
So, anyways, so yeah, there's definitely that. What else? Persistence.
Well, I was about to say, we talked about resiliency and you know, we get knocked down, but we get up again. That ties in with the persistency. I mean, we're persistent as fuck. Period.
Don't know what you mean.
Don't tell a fucking person. Don't tell a fucking person with ADHD that they can't do something, because motherfucker, you'll end up with a 12-page paper on epidemiological surveillance systems when the assignment only asked for 2.
I didn't hear firkin initially. I heard flirkin.
So did I, actually.
You got a flirkin over there, Lee?
Well, I mean, she's got a fucking tesseract in front of her mouth, so maybe.
But anyways, yeah, persistence is a big thing, right? I've told the story about my 8th grade English teacher who told me I was going to fail out of high school because I couldn't write a paper to save my life. And then, you know, I turned around, passed my 9th grade proficiencies, passed my 12th grade proficiencies, got the highest score in the SAT in my school, and took my SAT scores and plastered them all over his classroom because he was a dick. And I wanted to show him how fucking bad he made me.
Fuck you. No, my story of persistence is fucking social media. At this point, on the days where it just hammers you into the ground, on the days where you're getting invalidated for it, on the days where, you know, you're told what you're doing is stupid and doesn't mean anything, and nope.
What are you? You're so old. Why are you on this app?
Fucking head down and barrel into it.
So I think that's a pretty good wrap up of all the, you know, as we're rolling into an hour of recording of the awesomeness.
It's all right. Through the magic of editing, it will be much shorter than just an hour.
Oh, it's true. But I mean, it's going to be a hard cut.
Yeah, it's going to be a big section. These are all things that we've talked about before. Like everybody says, oh, you focus on the negative, you don't focus on the positive. I've talked about all of this. Every single one of these things I've talked about as a benefit, right? We're not all these negative Nancys who only see the negative.
Absolutely.
We're realists. We talk about both sides of the field, right? Yes, it's a struggle. Yes, it's a benefit. There are freaking awesome things that your hyper-focus can be a fucking superpower if it works for you, right?
It absolutely can. If you can get it to work, yeah.
Right?
Not if I'm staring at a goddamn tree out the window for 20 minutes.
Absolutely. There's some great benefits to having ADHD. You have to always pay attention to it and understand that this may not always outweigh the negatives that come with it, but there are benefits to it.
Did you say pay attention?
I did say pay attention. So with that, I think we are ready to go ahead and roll into the closing of this episode.
I think we are.
So we will head there after a word from our sponsors.
Are you having problems with your working memory? Are you fighting to maintain focus? Are you trapped being a slave to Big Pharma's devil pills? Well, they call me the Gipper, and I'm here to set you straight. And for a limited time, you can enroll in my Just Try Harder plan. All it takes is... Yeah?
Hey, Gipper, can I see that planner?
Oh, sure.
Thanks. That's nice. Thought he'd never shut up.
ADHD. That's not how it works. Don't be a gipper.
I think that closes out this episode. It has been a really interesting episode.
You're the one who closes everything out. So are we ending here?
I think we're going to go ahead and end here. I'm definitely going to close this episode out. But before we close out completely, though, and dive into what we do and where you can find us and all that stuff like that.
Nowhere I can't be perceived.
I want to talk to you all about understanding that if you have ADHD, you are not alone.
You absolutely are not.
Hell no.
We really want you to hear this. You are not alone. Now, I'm going to throw out a stat and say that 2.8% of the world's adult population was found to have ADHD in 2016. Now, you think that's a pretty low number, right? Until you consider that there's 7 billion people out there.
8.
Oh, almost 8 billion. Yeah, 8 billion now, right?
Yeah.
So 2.8% of 8 billion people is a fuck ton. I'm not going to do the math. I'm just going to say it's a fuck ton. You're not alone.
Actually, in Canada, we call that a metric fuck ton. Carries more weight.
But you absolutely are not alone. And there are plenty of places out there to seek assistance. There are great reputable organizations out there that help the ADHD community. There are great resources from online magazines that provide excellent articles and sources for that, to social media, as we've all, our social media channels, I think, are great sources of information about ADHD. It's just information, though. It's not fact. You need to go do more research. You have groups for group therapy. You have therapists and psychologists and all these other people who will go out and help you to work with your ADHD and find all the tools that are out there that can help you, right? Because
there are so many.
There are so many.
It's true.
It's not just medication, right? Medication is just one small tool in your control of your ADHD symptoms.
That's right. One tool in a very large toolbox that we all have at our disposal. And it's making sure that you have the right tools. So all of these things that Patrick just listed, these are also all tools in the toolbox to help you to manage, to cope, and to get through with your daily life and be the best you that you can possibly be.
And with that, I'm going to do a plug specifically this time, a little early than normal, but you are not alone.
No.
We have a Discord called Squirrel Station that you can find in Spaz's beacons list that it has 1,600 plus neurodivergence on it. Okay.
That's right.
From all different walks of neurodivergency. So you are absolutely 100% not alone. Come join us. Come hang out with us.
Come to the squirrel side.
Come make friends over here, because they will become some of the closest friends you will ever make.
Absolutely. There.
I could speak from experience. So that being said, you're not alone. And I think we're going to go ahead and end on that note. So, Spaz, where can they find you when you're not doing the podcast?
When I'm not recording the podcast, you can find me in that lovely Discord server that Patrick just mentioned. Squirrel Station, at this time of recording, has over 1,600 individuals in it. And we are neurodivergent of all types. There are mental health resources abound. Mental health conditions left, right, and center, and all amazing and supportive people. So I invite you to come and join us there. Quick link for you. Do the thing. That's right. Discord.gg/Squirrel Station is where you'll find that. You can also find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I keep forgetting I even have one because I don't use it that often. But ADHD Everything. I know, right? ADHD Everything is where you'll find me. Also on Twitch, where I stream on Mondays and Fridays at 1:30 Mountain Time until about 4, except for typically the first Wednesday of every month, where Ley and I will do a dual stream together.
Yo!
Which also starts at 1:30 Mountain Time, 3:30 Eastern, and goes a little bit later. Typically we'll go till about 5 my time, 7 Eastern. So I encourage you to come and join me there.
Okay. And Ley, how about you?
When you don't hear me on the podcast, it's typically because I'm fucking off. No, you can find me on TikTok at Ley2460. You can find me on Twitch at Ley2460. Also, I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, typically at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Been a little bit of a delay here on the streaming because
Pain.
Been in pain.
Yeah.
Pain.
Rule 0.
But you can also find me there on Tuesdays from 12 p.m. till 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time doing a workflow, Pomodoro, and body doubling session. So come hang out, have fun, be productive, that kind of thing. Mondays we talk mental health. Wednesdays we do community game nights. And Fridays is whatever the fuck I feel like it because it's my goddamn channel.
Hey, Lee, don't you have a YouTube channel as well?
I do. It's Lee Plays Games, and I always forget about that. And my Twitter, which is also Lee Plays Games.
There we go. Okay.
How about yourself, Patrick? Where can they find the defunct TikToker? Question mark.
I am selectively retired on TikTok. I will be still making content.
Retired, he calls
I will still be making the content that I feel like I need to make. I am not making a large amount of content on TikTok anymore, but I will be making TikTok still. That being said, you can find me on my Twitch channel, which is ADHD Silverback, on Mondays and Thursdays from 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Standard Time, where I do, mental health talks mostly. But I do have a couple of community game nights, and every once in a while I get together with some of these fuckers and do some bonus episodes every once in a while. So
hell yeah.
That's where you can find me when I'm not here on the podcast.
Don't forget, not only do we have individual beacons lists in our profiles, but we also have a Patreon.
So the Patreon has 2 tiers. You have the podcast tier, which is the $5 a month tier that'll get you access to all the behind the scenes stuff that we do, and all the commercials that you hear in the podcast you will be able to listen to them whenever you want.
Commercials are so much fun.
And then we have a $10 tier, which is a full patron tier that will get you the access to the bonus episodes and all the other behind the scenes information as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I say bonus episodes because guess what, folks? We're not going to stop making bonus episodes specifically for the Patreon. So if you want to join in, make sure you guys join in because that's the only place you're going to find them.
Do it. We want to thank everybody who is a patron currently as well. We can't do what we do without y'all's help. There are a lot of startup costs that we didn't fucking factor in when it came to starting a fucking podcast because we have ADHD, so we kind of just jumped right into it and said, hey, let's do the fucking thing! And then we did the fucking thing. And then we did the fucking thing, and then we're like, okay, who's paying for what now? So the money that y'all use for our Patreon goes towards helping us fund the things that we need to do the thing that we do.
Yep. Like, being able to transfer files because we all live in different fucking parts of this continent.
Not even the country, the fucking continent.
That's right.
Goddamn Canuck.
But yeah. We do have a Patreon. We have a great YouTube channel as well where you can listen to the podcast as well.
And you'll eventually be able to see it. That is my project during the season break.
You will be able to see all the shenanigans that happen as we film, folks. And it's definitely an interesting time. But yeah, I think that wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. We really, really appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
I do not know why you continue to do this to yourself, but we love you for it.
Masochism level is high.
Right? So, again, we will be here again in 2 weeks. I hope you will join us then.
With Allosaur Lofus.
That's right. Special guest, Allosaur Lofus.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Wait, what was I doing? A squirrel, an ape, and a trash panda's ADHD podcast. Episode 6. Hosted by Lee2460, ADHD Silverback, and ADHD Everything. Recorded on September the 22nd in the Squirrel Station Discord. Mixed at Darkside Studios. Music by Stream Beats and Infraction. Many thanks to our patrons, Amanda, Linny, Nikki, Chelsea, Dawn, Janelle, Chaos, Topher, Brian and Road Toads. Thank you to this week's sponsor contributions, ADHD Silverback, Schuster McGee, Danny, Diane, and ADHD Everything. Tune in Tuesday, October 19th for episode 7, when a dinosaur really fucks up a trash panda's day.
This episode we got coming is just for you. We don't say your name in it.
No.
But it's just for you. Listen to it.
So.
We're talking directly to you every fucking episode. We're coming for you.
Easy.
I was about to fucking hold him back.
We only want to scare off and say fuck Lee's followers. Not everybody.